Hello, everyone. This is Jay, the Black Filipino. We're back with another podcast. I got your boy Chris on the line.
What up?
Yeah, and I got my boy Homo on the line.
YouTube.
Yeah, these are the we're adding in Homer as a co-host right now for this podcast. So yeah, guys, we just wanted to get into um, you know talk about some things some people are doing out here. Some different vloggers and other people in other companies and what they're doing as far as taking advantage of minors. Okay, and also this is something that is pretty much legal in the Philippines. A lot of people may not understand how it is, but there's so many loopholes that you can go around to where it's legal. So we just wanted to talk about that, and yeah, just start off with your boy Chris. Take the floor.
What? I don't have a problem, nobody. What are you talking about? I, I like I
No,
like
but
talking
Chris, I
about.
think you did some research in reference to some of the laws in reference to the age
Oh
that
yes,
or
yes,
it's consensual in the Philippines and compared to the United States.
yeah.
Hmm.
You know, crazy enough, the legal age of consent in the Philippines is 12 years old.
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
So that clearly allows for some people to set up shop over there and basically pimp people out in a roundabout way where it's kind of legal.
Hmm.
They're skating around things. And hey, how do you feel about that?
How do I feel? Well,
How do you feel?
it definitely saddens me. But it's a hard thing to try to fight. I would never go and fight it because you can't fight it because you're dealing with, when you jump into that realm, you're dealing with the rich. You're dealing with people that are connected, that are definitely taking advantage of the system that is set up here for people that are underage. Because I'll get into one thing. It's around 12. Your boy Chris said it was 12. He looked it up. I seen it was 13 before, but that's still both of them are young, and it's illegal to, solicit a person under the age of 18, but it's not illegal to have sexual relations with them if they agree to it. So there are loopholes you can put in place to go around it to where it's not to where it is consent and you didn't pay them anything. Like say for instance, if it's not a cop sting, if it's not a sting operation where someone is a prostitute, it's legal because there's no show of any money exchanged. There's no show of any of that. So it kind of saddens me. And any one of you could take the floor.
But it's like this. If you're coming from the United States and you're listening to this vlog, you have to be careful because a lot of these different companies and vloggers will have pictures of these girls like they're modeling and they're doing all this stuff, and you think you're coming over here to meet some girl that's 18 and she's actually younger, but you're going to go by what this vlogger or this company is representing as an older female. You have to protect yourself because once you get over here and if you get caught up with this young girl and the cops get a hold of you, you got to be careful, man.
Hmm.
Now, I don't know offhand if they're actually even trying to, you know, make them seem like they're 18. I think there is um, there is a demand for what the Philippines legally allows. You know what
Hmm.
I'm saying? I think there is a desire for a lot of people that look for that age. So if you have a place like the Philippines who allows 12, as the bottom line is 12, you're going to have people that are going to go there with money and they're going to want these things. So now you have somebody setting up a service that meets that demand. And I
Hmm.
think that's what you have the problem with, Jay, is that there is somebody companies that realize that there's this demand, there's this underworld of these type of people that have money to spend. They want these young girls, where in the good part of the world, the Western world would frown upon this.
Hmm.
They have money to blow. They want that. And people are looking at the laws and they're saying, okay, we can supply this. If we do it like this, it's legal. And
Hmm.
um, I think to you and to myself too, and probably to Homer as well, is that we're kind of in shock that this is actually occurring. Like that somebody could set up this kind of business and it's like it's good. Business is booming, you know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
nobody said, hold up, time out. There's something obviously wrong here. It just seems that business is booming.
Hmm.
But do you think it's something because you have men in power that also want that young age that will overlook that law and just let that stay in place
Well,
because they know it's a demand there.
you know what, Homer, I'll say this, if you look at this recent U.S. elections, because of WikiLeaks, we will find out about how loud. Well, we kind of all knew that a lot of
Pizzagate.
these rich elite people, he kind of into some creepy shit.
Hmm.
Like Podesta and his whole like blood parties and all this bullshit. Like these rich people, they got so much money, they're just into creepy shit because they're bored apparently with their lives,
Hmm.
and they like freaky shit. But it's also been known too, with like Bill Clinton in the past, like he has friends that, went to jail or, had charges of being pedophiles and, they were flying around the world and the Lolita Express with, going to like going down to like the Caribbean and getting underage girls and all this crap. You hear about these politicians, these people in power that do these crazy things.
Hmm.
So there's a great chance that, yeah, this kind of service kind of lives in their world as well. They like this. So they allow these people to exist because they're servicing them too. They're
Hmm.
allowing the people in power um, to get what they want. So they allow these people to operate.
But still, as a parent, I have an 11-year-old daughter, and when you look at her, and just like I said, I didn't know about the age until you informed me about it, and it's like, how can you actually think about doing something like that, even as a parent? I know it's hard in the Philippines, and they're living day by day, and letting your 11 or 12-year-old daughter go to some guy that's 40, 50 years old.
It is kind of crazy, you know.
Yeah, it is.
But you know what? You know what's funny? I don't think it's just a Filipino thing. I think it happens in a lot of countries where there is a situation
Hmm.
where there is a lot of people in dire straits to where even though we look at this like, damn, how the hell could this be? To them, it's like it's another resource. It's a possibility to make some money,
Hmm.
and they sell off their daughters or they put their, and it could be too, not for nothing, but the other side of the coin could be, I'll play devil's advocate here. It could be that the family looks and says, hey, we need money, but also we can't do right by her. So maybe somebody, even though
Um,
it's a weird situation, she'll be
Yeah.
taken care of. Even though I don't believe that, because it's like you're putting her, she becomes like this sex slave. In my mind, that's what she becomes, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And that's prominent in other parts of the world. That goes on in the Middle East. That's very prominent, and um, I wonder if that's part of the rationalization for the parents. Like, we're going to get some money, and she'll get treated a certain way,
Yeah.
that's
in a
pretty
in a
deep, Chris,
in a
because
in a
cultural.
good in a good light. Well, it's very common in the Middle East. Um, I would, if anybody's into Vice, and anybody into Vice here, you guys. I know Jay,
Yeah,
you watch
definitely.
some of the Vice news on YouTube. Vice has a channel called Viceland. Your cable company might have it. You can find up some of the videos online as well. They have this thing called the black market, where um, they show what people do that are in bad situations, what they do to make money, and how
Hmm.
it's not a random one-off thing. In areas, in pockets around the world, when people are hit with a situation, they kind of put a spotlight on like crazy things they do to make money that are dangerous, that are highly illegal, and it's almost like it becomes a way of life there because it does pay, and
Hmm.
it's a way to survive, and it's kind of like they normalize it to them because it makes sense, but to the rest of the world it's like, holy shit, I can't believe they do that. I would suggest anybody check out the black market on Viceland. You get you get an eye-opening experience of how all these different people around the world make their community run on some crazy, dangerous, illegal shit just because they have to. And you
Hmm.
kind of
So,
sit
so
there,
just like they're saying they will sacrifice the younger daughter to get enough money to take care of the
right?
family as a whole.
Yep, that goes on. It goes on. Not to go off the topic of the Philippines, but this goes into what we're saying about these young girls and maybe the family marrying them off. One of the black market things for Viceland was the Syrian refugees, right? Everybody talks about the Syrian refugees, right? How they're going into all these European countries and they go, they all bunch up, but then there's no work for them, nobody wants to hire them. Well, the Viceland did a great story about the girls from Syria, right? Instead of going to the European countries as refugees, you know where they go? They go to Lebanon because
Hmm.
Lebanon is more multicultural when it comes to the Middle East, right? Because you have many different religions there. They have clubs and bars and stuff like that. So what does that equal? Prostitution.
Hmm.
So these girls from Syria, who majority of them are Muslim, who they're in a bad situation, their families living in camps or whatever, their family will send them to Lebanon to work as prostitutes, and then they also have like just like what we're talking about, there's people there that know this, and what they do is they set up a business and they marry these girls off to rich Saudi businessmen
Hmm.
as
Well,
wives.
that's exactly what we're saying. It's like, you know, uh, there's guys doing it here, especially particularly, a person that's on YouTube. He has these girls. It's like set up like a modeling agency to make it legal. They're not showing anything in the videos. They're not. They don't have their breasts exposed or any other private areas. So when you look at all the loopholes that he's jumping through, instead of me going on his videos and commenting and bashing him, I was telling my wife, I said, "You see this?" I said, "This is legal. The way he's doing it is legal. If anyone is sending them money, the girls' money, it's for gifts. There's no sexual talk exchanged. You understand?
Yeah.
So that jumps around all of the legal loopholes to where that 12, 13 and over age can be exposed and shown on camera. And also, not even that. Think about the girls that, the girls that are shown are usually 15, 16. Think about those ones that are 12, 13 that are not shown on camera. You
But
understand?
it's another way to coerce them, by okay, we're going to shower you with these gifts. A lot of these girls have never had that.
Paddington.
We're
Yeah.
taking you out to eat, we're taking you to buy clothes. So they're starting to see a different world that they've never seen before. And of course, as a kid at that age, you're enjoying that, you're loving that. So of course you're going to do exactly what this individual or this company tells you to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And they're doing it in a popular tourist um, attraction area for prostitution. It's in Angeles City. So, you
and
know,
it's and it's done in a way too that it doesn't look shitty.
yeah.
Like it's done on like the up and up. You know what I mean? Like it's showing these girls in like a positive light. They're wearing nice clothes. He takes them shopping. Like they're out to eat. Like you know what I mean? He's making it fun. And
Hmm.
there's a bunch of them, and they're all joking around. It's like it's not seedy in any way. Or it's seedy to us, but it's not
City.
seedy. It's not seedy from a distance. It's seedy
Hmm.
when you get up close and you realize what's going on.
And then you look at the comments and you see a dude with a picture. I don't know why he would show his picture. That's like 80 years old, saying, "Oh yeah, can you show this one again? And can you show?" It's like what? you
It's
know?
like it's like a mail order system. It's
Yeah.
basically what it's like. It's like mail order, but like you know what too, maybe maybe like I think Jay, I think we discussed this where you have all the online dating that goes on with the Philippines, right? Or like Date Asia type of deal. Everybody's doing that, but then there's always that feeling of am I getting scammed, right? Like that's a
Hmm.
big topic on this channel. Am I getting scammed? Am I getting what this guy is doing is taking that out of there. He's taking
Yeah.
that out. He's
Hmm.
showing you look, the guy that we had on, Danelle, right? The guy that we had on our channel on the podcast, and he explained the situation. He said one of the things he said was, "Oh, it took me months to get her to go outside to take a photo. Every time I talked to her, she was in the same damn room for a full year, right?"
Hmm.
Think about this. This guy's channel is doing the opposite. He's taking them out places. He's showing you who they really are. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like he's taking all that guesswork out, but you're paying for it.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like instead of like being halfway around the world guessing, it's basically like you're shopping online. That's basically what this comes down to.
Exactly.
But but the thing is, it's skating around the legalities of the laws. Like in anywhere else, it wouldn't be legit, but
Hmm.
because of how it is set up over there, you get away with it, and it's very profitable.
Yeah, and that's
But
why
Jay,
you notice that the website can't go up because the reason why he can't really push the website is
International too.
because it's going to be international, and
The
then you're
feds
going to
can shut him down. The feds
the
can shut
feds
him
will
down
shut
in
you down and
the
lock you up
U.S.
for a long time because now you're breaking international law. But
Yeah, because
so
then
he
it then
can't
it
put up a website.
because then it becomes sex trafficking
Exactly, and he can't do that. I think he
or
realized that. That's why
or
the website is
human trafficking in general.
because that's what it is. It's
It is
human
what it
trafficking
is.
made
That's
legal.
what yeah, that's what it boils down to. It is really human trafficking.
well,
Yeah.
see, just because it's illegal there, you can't disseminate it and bring it to another country where it's not legal.
Hmm.
The legalities are just totally different internationally. But what we frown upon here, they don't frown upon over there in the Philippines.
Yeah, I mean they do,
You
but
know,
it's like you guys both said. It's all the situation. Some parents are like,
It's like a
you
means to
know,
an end. That's what it is.
yeah,
A
it's a
means to
means
an
to an end.
it's a weird on it's a necessary evil, I guess.
Yeah, because you got to think about it. These girls, it's not like okay, you know what, but we don't know behind the scenes. But a lot of what he shows, it's not set up to where okay, the girls are bought on the videos, and then after that, you know, um, how can I say
Chained
it?
up.
Yeah, yeah, because he's not doing that. He's not doing that.
No.
But what's happening is the families even he's telling families, hey, look, I'll provide you with this. I'll provide. He's paying them off too. Come on, you guys know that. So now the family doesn't see her daughter getting taken advantage of at the moment. You get what I mean? So they don't see that. I've even seen situations where families have been provided the whole family with food, and they try to make it look traditional, like the mother went with her when she went out with the guy. And at the end of the day, I'm sitting there like, you're not fooling me. You know, you
well,
guys
of
got
course, he's
paid
going to show
off.
you what he wants you to see. That's the whole
Exactly,
purpose.
exactly. And what about that 12, 13-year old? That's not on video. That some guys just coming over having sex with. You don't see that.
Maybe and also too, like, in some cultures to this day, they still marry off, arranged marriages to
Hmm.
this day in some cultures, you know, and then, it's kind of weird. I mean, now usually those aren't underage, but
Hmm.
it still goes on and it's a weird situation. So maybe like I said, maybe these parents are just like, okay, they see their daughter being taken care of. Maybe they're happy for her in a strange way. Like, look at her. She looks happy. She's got nice clothes. We could never give her those things.
Yep.
And look, we're taken care of now. The younger kids are taken care of. She's doing kind of like
Way
right by the
better.
fam. Yeah, she's like
Hmm.
helping the family in a way. And maybe they really do rationalize it like she's gonna get to live a different life. They don't real maybe they don't think long term like, oh, this might not be good for her. Like this
Yeah.
you know, maybe, she'll kill herself in a couple of years when she gets a little older and realizes she's stuck in this bad situation.
Hmm.
But maybe some of them are good situations, right? Too, because not
Yeah.
everybody's a creeper. Not everybody's a
Exactly.
creeper.
Exactly.
Maybe there are
But
dudes.
like what you mentioned, Chris, they're not looking thinking about tomorrow. And when I
Yeah,
met my wife, she's from the Philippines. That was, I asked her. I said, "Well, why do you prefer to date a foreigner?" And that was one of her statements saying, "Well, a lot of these guys here in the Philippines, they're just living for today or living for tomorrow. They're not looking past that because they can't. I gotta
yeah,
earn this money today. I gotta be able to eat today. They're not looking down the road
Hmm.
in the future because they don't think of it that way."
Hmm. Hmm.
yeah, definitely.
You know, and also, this is not something that's new. This has been happening here in other countries for years. There's somebody's grandmother walking around at 70 years old that has been taken advantage of when she was 12, 13 years old. You know what I mean? So, and it's the same situation. The family maybe needed help, it happens. I would love to hear someone else's story that knows someone that maybe told them as well. Contact us because, these are the things that happen, and it's not seen as okay by a lot of people out here because people have evolved. This isn't 1970, 1980. This is 2017 where people see things happening all over the world, and there are a lot of Filipinos that see this and go, wait a minute. this is not right. This is wrong. But then you have the guys, I'm not trying to expose anyone, that are of age, that are out here and been doing the same thing for years. Because this is what happened with Filipinas, and I know you guys have heard this before. I don't know if you've heard this, Chris. What happens is when Filipinas hit a young age, it's like in China, right? When they hit like the age of like late 20s, they start getting seen as old and washed
Right,
up.
right.
Because you have that younger girl, a guy can go consensually get a 16-year-old and groom her. You see what I'm saying? So that's why a lot of times you find, and I'm sure you've seen this. I don't know if you've seen it, Homer. A lot of women that are like 30 and over, they have to hit online
Right.
and find love, because they're not going to get looked at. There's so much competition out here with these younger girls that still, are perky and in all the right areas that guys are going to like, and this girl can't compete with that. You know, most girls can't compete with it. I'm telling you, my wife Kay, she has she has pretty sisters. They probably won't get talked to, not because they're ugly, because there's so much competition. You see what I'm saying?
Wow.
It's
I
so
say,
much competition here,
I say
and
competition's a good thing
yeah, but it's
for
really
the
not,
men.
because it
For foreign
depends.
men, it
It's
is
for the men.
apparently.
Yeah, for the foreign men it is.
But see
You
that's
know?
that competition also forces the family to do things that they probably wouldn't ordinarily do. Just like we're saying about
Yeah.
letting your 12 or 13-year-old daughter go with this older male.
Yep.
Yeah, you
Just
got a
now,
head
what
of
what culture is that? I think it's Hispanic. Was it Quinceañera or something like that? When a daughter turns 15,
15. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
they consider her like an adult at that point. Correct? Is that the same type terms?
Yeah, but
Yeah,
a
I guess
little
so.
bit yeah, it's like that, but I think it's worse here. Because still they don't promote that. I mean, you have to think about I don't know, I think it's like in Russia, something like that, where the age is, I forgot what country it is. One of those countries over there where the age is 12 too. And it's the same thing happening there. You got to notice a lot of times, it's in the countries where you're going to find more beautiful women at. Is that a coincidence? I don't think so. It's
Hmm.
business.
Well, I think for Europe, for Europe, it was very big in a lot of those Baltic states after the
Yeah.
fall of the Soviet Union because it was just mayhem. The governments didn't really exist. It was kind of trying to find their way. So you
Hmm.
had people, setting up businesses where you can basically go online, shop for what you want, you fly in, and it's pretty well documented. I mean, if you go really search, you can find documentaries from like say 10, 15 years ago where people were outlining like the horrors of like how like these rich people would just basically say like you're a rich business guy, right? And you're
Hmm.
flying around doing business all over. One day you're in Tokyo, next day you're, somewhere in Europe, and then you're somewhere in America. There was a network. There was a network of human sex trafficking where wherever you were, you can go online, but buy what you want that night. You know what I mean? It was all
Hmm.
young underage kids.
Hmm.
This kind of thing is kind of like the same thing, but it's long term.
Yeah.
You're not just flying in to test the goods out because you're going to be there tonight. You're buying this, and
Hmm.
and it's interesting because of the laws and the way the laws are set up and the way everything's the way they're circumventing it. It's kind of legit. Now
Hmm.
the only thing is though, depending on where these guys, who these older guys with the money are, they basically have to move to the Philippines because, like Homer said, you can't take it elsewhere because then it becomes illegal, that relationship.
Hmm.
You know what I mean? Like you're not going to get a K-1 visa for a 12-year-old coming to the
Yeah,
U.S.
because you can do what you have to do, but you can't marry
Maybe,
them. That's the thing.
maybe if you go to like Alabama or shit, some shit, and when they're like, because I think in Alabama I'm still might be 13 too, or Georgia or something
I
like that.
think 14. Yeah, it is like that.
Like 14 or 13 in some of those states.
Yeah, it is. It is. I think it's 14, the lowest in the U.S. But that's still young.
Yeah,
But
it's like 16 here in Ohio.
yeah, I think it's like that in New York too, 16 and
It's
17.
17 in
But
New York now.
yeah, 17. But yeah, and Anthony, you said a young girl approached you and grabbed your hand and then took you over to a lady to ask you if you liked her. Wow.
Nice.
Oh wow.
You ask how much?
Yeah.
You should have just went for the whole thing. Just asked.
But see, the
Yeah. No.
kid itself, the kid doesn't know better. It's learned. It's taught to them. Just like they're not taught to
Yeah.
lie. They're taught to lie. They're not just come out and know how to lie. They're shown these particularly. That's why the parent shows them to do that. Hey, you see,
Hmm.
go grab that guy's hand.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
Yeah, it's
It
true.
goes back to Jay. Remember you were telling that story about you won the subway and the girl just sort of like not the subway, the train, and the girl just started
Hmm.
rubbing up against you. And Kay was standing right there.
Hmm.
It's a roundabout way you can kind of put that to like you don't know, like maybe this guy that runs his business, these young girls, maybe he they go places. He's like, all right, go talk to that old guy there in the mall. Like
Hmm.
let's see what's up.
Yeah, and also too, sometimes you have to think of the mentality of a young girl, right?
Kind of
Um,
hard to do. I don't think I
no,
could
no,
do
no,
that.
no. I'll break it down for you.
Oh,
And I know
you
you guys are
know.
aware of this. Young girls, what they do, right, is they usually like older guys, not old men, but they're like guys that are older, right? It happened in the building the other day. I went downstairs. I got some food to bring upstairs to cook, right? Young girl walks by. Must have been, I don't know, maybe 15, and starts, giving you the look. And, young girls are naturally flirty, and so what's happening is that's being taken advantage of. You get what I'm saying? Of that flirty innocence. Like you may not find so much older woman that will flirt like a young girl would flirt to try to get your attention because that's what they do. Any girl can tell you, any woman can tell you that they've probably done something like that in their life, where they were attracted to a guy that was older. So I'm not saying that the situation with these girls, but I think that innocence is being taken advantage of because they want to experiment. You guys understand that? They're still growing. They're still going through puberty. Their hormones are changing. They're curious. So that's being exploited.
I
As
would
to where.
well
Hmm.
these girls, I would say they're probably more enticed by a better life
Hmm.
than the older guy scenario because a lot of these guys are not like 10 years older than these guys are like got 30, 40 years on them plus.
Hmm. Hmm.
So they probably see like, oh, I'm gonna be taken care of, you know. Maybe that turns them on.
Yeah.
Gets the motor going, gets the juices flowing.
But still, a lot of the family members, they will have them on the streets, walking down the streets. They haven't eaten. So, as a foreigner, they say, okay, the foreigner, hey, I'll buy you something to eat, come hang with me. It's the same thing they do here to, for younger girls that entice them with the
Hmm.
pedophiles. It's the same
Yeah.
process. You find
Yeah.
something that you know they want, you suck them in, and then you gradually groom them to where you want them.
Hmm. It's a little different in the states. Like say in the states, sometimes you really don't know the age until you ask, because there are young girls in the states who are more healthy than women here. Here usually when a girl's young, you know it. So sometimes a girl could be 25 and look like she's 16. So yeah, it's a little crazy. Here you're gonna know. Wait a minute, no, that girl is young. You know, you see it roll in their face right away. You see it right away. And that's the same thing I see in these certain videos. I'm like, man, these girls look like babies because they are, and it's just it's nothing that can be done about it. That's the thing that's crazy. And I'm not gonna go approach the guy or anyone else doing that. That's not my position to do that. It's legal.
Yeah.
What
It,
can I
it's
do?
le- it is legal. It's legal in those confines and how they're doing it. It's totally legal. It's seedy. It's
Hmm.
not really morally right, but
Hmm.
there's a demand for it. There
Yeah.
is there's a global demand for that. So if people have the money to pay and you set up shop, I mean,
Hmm.
hey, this guy saw a way to make profit, and I'm sure he has some moral justification in his mind of why it's okay to do what he's doing.
Because
Besides
it's
the
legal.
money, besides the money, maybe he thinks he's helping people. He's
I don't think
helping
so.
both. No, I'm sure.
Well,
I'm
it's
sure.
not going to stop nothing because if it's not him, it's somebody else.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter. That's always going to be the case. Until the laws change. That's just what it is.
but I'm sure he justifies it with himself. He makes peace with himself every day with the fact that he's providing a better life for the girl's family, somewhat for the girl, and then he's appeasing, making these older dudes who are lonely happy, and then his reward is he makes a lot of money.
Hmm.
I'm sure he appeases it because other than that, he's just a pimp.
That's you gotta call it what it is. That's exactly what he is. A pimp.
But he's a pimp to the majority of the world, he's a pimp to the guys that are using his services, but to the families of those girls, he's not a pimp. He's a way
Right.
out. He's a leg up on their situation. You know, that's why it's a weird situation. Like, you know, it exists because there's everybody wants something, and
Supply and demand.
yeah, and he's the man in the middle. He's making it all happen. He's getting families money they need. He's getting the girls to these guys that want girls, and he's getting what
Mhm.
he wants, money.
But the pimping game changed. You guys know you're from the U.S. And your boy Chris, I know you know too. You remember the real pimps, 70s, 80s, 60s, with the shiny clothes. All of they women were overage. Sometimes looked like they were older than the pimp. It's not like that. This is pretty much taking advantage. And that is too because you're controlling their mind. But it's a little different. It's still seedy, but it's a little different. That's not that much frowned upon because of the way it's done. It's
Well,
done with
the
class.
listen, but the pimp game changed so much that the image you shared, yeah, some shaft type shit, yeah, that's the way it was back in the day. But the real story is most of the pimps nowadays are women. Like the
Yeah,
real pimps, the high end shit. They always get everybody that gets busted, these madams as they call them, they're
yeah.
women.
Hmm.
All this high
But with
end
the
shit
technology, the technology has changed it to where
not on
it's
the
even
streets no
just
more.
internet based. You can
Yeah.
shop online.
Yep.
You
You
ain't got
can
to
Yeah.
go
shop online.
nowhere. You come straight to my house or my hotel. You don't have to do nothing. You don't have to leave the house. So
Well,
it's a
the free
combination of the people as well as the internet, which just changed the game.
Hmm.
That's why when you watch that show Cops and people are getting busted in the hotels, you're like, learn how to use the internet. It won't happen.
Yeah. I'll tell you this.
Not hanging on the streets.
One of my family members was actually caught in one of those rings, which I wish not to share their name. And it was on television. He was on the news,
Oh boy.
and he got caught in the ring for the prostitution sting. And when
My
I heard
bad.
about it, I thought it was funny, but yeah, and I guess he fell for the okey doke, but yeah, it happens, but yeah, man, you know, I don't know, I'm at a loss for words, man, because
But
it's the
it
world we
boiled
living
down
in.
to Jay, bringing this topic up. It's education because you can always learn, and we hope we provide information so other people can also learn and hear exactly what's going on. It's just stuff you don't think about on an everyday basis. You live
Hmm.
your CD life, you go through life thinking about this, thinking about that, living your life, but not looking on both sides. And
Hmm.
like I said, when I travel to the Philippines, it's a calming thing for me because I live a crazy life. You being from New York, you know how busy it is, and we kind of lose sight on a lot of things. But coming back there slows you down. You look at things a lot different. You
Hmm.
know, so that's definitely a part of why I love the Philippines.
Yeah, I
Hmm.
think I think too. Like you just said, you're living your life. A lot of things slip by you. Like you don't really dive deep into a situation or a topic. I think it's all by design. Like you look at America and everything is captions, right? Like everything's headlines. Nobody cares about the real story. Nobody cares about the facts. You know what I mean? It's all sensationalized because nobody has time.
Hmm.
The majority of America doesn't have time to know. They don't have time to care. They're too busy with their lives, you know?
Yeah, yeah.
And then
Anthony said that the lady was her mother.
and then
That offered. Yeah. Okay,
you know,
sorry, Chris.
people just don't have time to care. You know what I mean? They got their own lives to worry about. So they don't really understand that there's some seedy shit going on around the world that yeah, all right, I'll give you an example. So we're talking about this situation in the Philippines, right? So
Hmm.
girls 12 or over, it's legal. So you have people running businesses there that basically it's like internet pimping where they're showcasing young girls to rich men to purchase because that's what was going on, right? Okay.
Hmm.
Now, Life Beyond the Philippine Dream said that there's this thing called blind owl where they're exposing about kidnapping children, right? All right. So what happened in Africa, right? You had Boko Haram, right? They go to the villages and they kidnap all the female girls from the schools, and they'll kidnap like 300 kids, right? And you remember Homer, like 2 or 3 years ago, remember, like everybody was tweeting out a hashtag like "Bring back our girls," and Michelle
Right.
Obama was tweeting it out, and everybody's like, "Wait a second!" Like everybody's jumping on this hashtag when like it's not, it shouldn't be hashtag worthy because it's been going on forever. It
Mm-hmm.
just happens to be Boko Haram. They're a terrorist group. Now they took girls, so now the world cares. Like it's something weird
Yeah.
going on here. It's all
Yeah.
social engineering. But
Mm-hmm.
but the thing is, what Boko Haram does with those girls are they sell them off into sex slavery. They sell them off as brides, right? They sell them off to whoever wants them, right? Basically, this is the same thing. It's just done in a different, more brute force way.
Mm-hmm.
But
Mm-hmm.
it's supply and demand. If it wasn't a market, then you wouldn't have that issue.
Right. And the thing is, you have all these Middle Eastern millionaires and billionaires who they have, 12, 13, 15, 16 wives. For
Mm-hmm.
them to pick up a girl in the cheap from somewhere in Africa, you know what I mean? They take the deal and that's what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And they bring them in as a sex slave. They make them, do whatever, they clean the house or whatever. And it's the same thing what's going on there. It's just a different way it's being handled. You know what I'm saying? It's
Mm-hmm.
the same thing. It really is. It's just that nobody's being kidnapped. They're just being purchased.
Yeah, they're being groomed, purchased, and um, in such a cheesy way. But
Yeah, Anthony just said, "Go make a good comment." So Dirt Day cleaned up the drugs, which is good, right? But what
mhm.
about the pedophiles? That's true. What about
look
the
what look what
pedophiles?
Boy Rookie said right after that. He doesn't care
Yes,
about the pedophiles because it's in the law. Age of consent in the Philippines is still 12 years old.
Right.
and it's true. I mean, it goes younger than that though. But
Yeah.
but still, yeah. You know,
But
it's it,
in politics, you have to pick your battles, and
Yep.
that's a battle he's been battling for years. That's nothing new. That's why he was elected. They already knew exactly where he stood. They know exactly what he was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
So he picked a battle that he knew he could win. Dealing with that, if the age is 12, that's a whole other battle he has to start to try to figure out.
Oh no, then he's cutting into his money. See, that's what it is.
All right, come on, Jay.
That right there is what it attracts a lot of rich people because, like we spoke about before, they know they can come here and take advantage of that. So you cut that off, you lose a lot of these guys in these big companies. I can't tell you their name. I don't know who they are, but there are a lot of guys in big companies, that are taking advantage of this now. That are spending all of this money and supplying. Think about it. Rich people move elections. Rich people control the U.S. do elections. I know both of you guys know that, Homer and your boy Chris. The rich control the country, and the rich engage, and all people in high politics engage in the sex trade. They engage in pedophilia. They engage in all of this. In U.S. they have to hide it usually through pizza gates and things like that. But here you don't have to hide it. So I'm not going to be mad at Duterte, for not choosing that battle. But I mean, it's obvious. You get what I'm
well,
saying?
I think Homer might be right though too. Like you have to pick your battles, and
Yeah.
maybe this is not a battle he's ready to fight.
Yeah,
Maybe
it's
it's a
hard.
battle maybe he wants to fight it, but like Homer said, he knew what he can get elected on,
Yeah.
and he ran on that. So like once he gets in and gets the situation going, and he starts doing things, then he has more leeway because the more successful he is, the more leeway he has to do things.
Mm-hmm.
You know, because especially if like the Philippines is a very religious country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Now, majority of it's
Excuse me.
majority of it's Catholic, but then you look at the Catholic Church and what they get hit with, pedophilia ring.
Pedophilia. Yeah.
So it's so it's a weird thing, but like maybe like Homer said, he's picking his battles. Maybe he's building up to a situation where he's just like, okay, now's the time. Now's the time we clean this up, clean that up. But it's one thing at a time. You can't tackle everything.
Oh yeah,
But see,
Slim Jim.
this
The
is
people that are getting locked up. Sorry, I just want to make them aware. People that are getting locked up for 16-year-olds is because they're soliciting them.
Yeah, soliciting is
It's
illegal.
soliciting and prostitution. It's something different.
But
I'm
see,
sorry.
this
Go
is
ahead.
old. This is old. This is nothing new. This has been going on for eons. Just like you touched base on that, back in the day, it was the same thing. So, you know, um, people dealing with younger kids, this is never going to stop.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
There's too much money in it.
Yeah.
And like Jay said, there's so many high-powered business people, right? And you got all these like, let's just say like, supposedly China is buying up a lot of Cambodia. So China, big companies in China are moving into Cambodia and buying up land and rebuilding shit. So like you have those guys, you got to entertain those guys, right? So if they want certain things, you got to get it for them, you
Hmm.
know?
I'll have to share this with you guys. I don't know if you guys know about this story. You remember that guy that was from Australia that came out here with this and got a Philippine girl? That a couple of people he was using them to lure the children in, right? He was getting like little girls, little boys. He was cutting them, killing some of them online. You know, getting 10, 20,000 at a time. You guys didn't hear that story?
No, I never heard
What?
that one.
Yeah, he was
It
actually showing it online to
was
people.
like that was it like that movie Hostel where like they kidnap the people and people online buy them and you kill them? It's like one of those deals.
It was like one of those deals. You know, they
He
were
was doing
being
it.
raped. They were being raped. They were being forced to have sex with each other. All kinds of crazy things. All of them got caught. You know, thank God. But
Where in the Philippines was this?
okay, where was that story at? Where did it happen at? I don't remember. Where was the story at where that happened? Where the people with the Australian guy and the other two girls that were kidnapping the children, and even some people's they were taking some people's family, right? Saying, "Oh, don't worry, I'll watch her." And then they walked in and the kid had a dog collar around his neck, and they were like, "Why does my son have a dog collar around his neck?" You know, because some person just paid them with some sick fetish, to show that, hey, here's $1,000. Yeah, show the kid walking around with a collar on. Yeah, they were a couple. Kay said. Kay's gonna look that up. But yeah, and people being caught, and this is all over the world, not just the Philippines. But people are getting caught.
Well, look at Homer. Remember that? You remember that guy in Ohio that kidnapped those girls and kept them in captivity for like 10 years?
Hmm.
Oh yeah,
What was his
only
name?
two hours.
And then he died in
Ariel Castro.
yeah, Erica, and then he died in prison.
He
Supposedly
killed
hung,
himself.
supposedly
Yeah.
killed himself. Yeah, my ass. He got what he deserved. But
Peter Scully. Yeah, his name is Peter Scully. The guy.
where was it though?
Everybody can look up Peter Scully. Somebody Slim Jim. Is that him? Are you talking about the same guy? It was in Lumbria. Yeah, Scully. Peter Scully. He's in Lumbria jail just down the road from him, and Cagayan de Oro. He's in Mindanao. It says he is a 53-year-old Australian accused of the torture and murder of children for his own sexual gratification.
Roberto hits him with a minnow. You better hope.
His alleged crimes are so bad that authorities are considering reintroducing the death penalty to execute him.
Roberto in here talking about Mindanao again. You better hope Abby's not in here. She's gonna go crazy.
Yeah,
Yeah, I
but
know. That's
Ariel
really keeps getting
Castro,
raped.
speaking about Ariel Castro, he had three girls that he
Three
had in
girls
captivity for 10
and the
years.
baby
Three.
and the baby.
Yep.
But the one chick had the kid.
Yeah,
Mm.
it's crazy. But yeah, guys, I just want to let you all know, we're not looking to go fight this. We can't fight it. I wouldn't attempt to fight it, because I wouldn't know where to start. You know, this is
It's just
something.
education.
Yeah, it's just education. I mean, it's nothing we can do. That's why I said I'm not saying anyone's names. I'm not looking to expose anyone. I'm not looking to judge anyone.
Yeah, and
And
you know
that's
what?
not. We're just telling you how we feel about it.
I don't think you could fight that. Like you said, it's education, just making people
Yeah,
aware. Because you know what happens? This guy is probably so well connected where he is doing all this that let's just say a bunch of people decide, hey, we're going to go investigate and talk to these people. You'd probably disappear
yeah,
because he's probably so well taken care of that. You mess with him, you hurt a lot of people's money. You just
yeah,
disappear.
yeah. So that's what it is. It's just a topic, that shouldn't be brushed under the rug. And that's what it is.
It goes on everywhere, though. That's the thing, though. And I don't
Yeah,
think it'll ever change because it's big in Mexico. You know,
yeah,
there's a lot of stuff about the sex trade coming across the southern border into America, And it's the same thing. It's little kids. They start them young. What they do in Mexico is that like they do the human sex trafficking like in Arizona and in Texas and stuff like that. And they bring in like the 16-year-olds, the 16 to 18-year-old girls, and they put them to work, right? But if you want the younger ones, you got to go across the border. You got to go into Mexico
Hmm.
because it's safer for the drug cartels to run that there, So they're running on both sides of the border. It's just that they're smart enough that, okay, if an 18-year-old gets caught in America and she's illegal, she gets wrapped with prostituting, soliciting, prostituting, whatever going on there. And maybe she'll get deported. Otherwise, those put her back on the streets. But if it's a underage kid, it's a whole other can of worms if it's an underage kid,
Hmm.
right? That's a whole new ball game. So they're smart enough to know that, all right, separate it. Keep one on one side of the border, keep the other on the other side of the border.
Yeah, because also in the U.S., there's pimps getting more times than murderers. Because what they do is, they charge them for, I don't know how many counts of kidnapping
They
and
did the human trafficking now. They avoid
human
that. They did
trafficking.
the
Yeah.
human trafficking, which encompasses a larger crime.
Hmm.
Now,
Yeah. So.
Yeah, because too, a lot of these girls now in the States, basically they run away from home. They have nowhere to go, and then somebody basically says, "Oh, I'll help you out," and the next thing you know, they become drug addicts, and then they're getting pimped out, and that's how they're getting them on the human trafficking because somebody's kidnapping them basically in a way.
Hmm.
They kidnap them mentally and physically, then
but
they're
they're
putting
using
them
the
to work.
drug to keep them in that
Yeah,
life.
and a lot of these girls are under 18, so then the next thing you know, when everybody gets busted, it's just a big, let's see what we can get this guy on,
15
you
counts
know,
of this, 15 counts of that. It's
and
crazy.
to, and then to be honest too, like it's a different thing. These high end girls, right? These high end working girls that work for these madams and they're doing all like the high end shit they're doing, like congressmen and business people. These people that work on their own free will, right? So you're like some 20-something-year-old chick. You want to make mad money. You're good looking. You're very professional. You work for a clean situation, right? And you're working for very discreet people that can't, that you're not going to get outed most likely because it'll ruin their careers if they got
Hmm.
out, right? Whereas it's a lot different if you're on the street and you're some young girl and you're being given so much drugs and then you're being forced into this situation to do things you don't want to do. It's a totally different situation,
Yeah, it
you know?
is.
And I think
Let,
that's
let,
why, yeah.
let me throw devil's advocate for that. Is there a difference between using a drug like in the United States to being in the Philippines and they're using food and clothing is kind of like their drug? See, it's
Uh,
still something that entices you and keeps you in that lifestyle stuff that you never had. Now you're enticed by the clothing and eating every day, where you're not doing that in the Philippines, to where now in the United States, the drug is your addiction.
yeah, I would say they're kind of similar. I would think, maybe not so much the drug, but maybe like somebody caring for you. So like in America, you say you're some girl who runs away, right? And somebody approaches you and they're like, they befriend you and you're hanging out with them and they're gonna take care of you. Before the drugs even get involved, you're probably like, oh, this person's gonna take care of me and protect me in my new life on the streets or whatever. That's kind of like the Philippines thing of like, we're gonna take care of your family, you're gonna take you
Hmm.
buy buy you nice clothes. Then I think the drugs is more of the control, in America.
Hmm.
Like I need to keep this girl here working for me and doing what I want, so I need to get her hooked on drugs. I think the drugs are more like handcuffs and the chains.
Right. Okay, I'm with you.
But I think
Yeah.
too for the girl, I think the thing for the girl in the Philippines would be the coziness is, hey, I'm going to treat you good. I'm going to buy you some clothes. I'm going to show you this nice life that you can have, and I'm going to find somebody for you. And the drug is, hey, I'm going to take care of your parents. You do everything you got to
Hmm.
do. Smile, be good, behave, talk, be very welcoming. I'll take care of your parents. So that's kind of like the drug, I think.
Hmm.
I wonder if they hold it over their heads. I wonder how it's paid out. I wonder if he pays the family a lump sum or it's like monthly.
I'm sure
Well,
they do monthly because most of
it
the
has
time
to
you
be
deal
monthly.
with
Yeah, go ahead.
what's that, Jay?
Oh no, no, I just said it has to be monthly.
Yeah, I think it's monthly. Just like anything, just like when I married my wife, it's the same thing. I send money. That's because we can. It's an option. You're dealing with family, so you feel that's just the way you're going to do things. That's the right way to do things. If you can do it, why
Yeah,
not?
I do the same thing. I help out with her family, and it's monthly. You know, it's just how it is.
Yeah, I wonder if the monthly thing with him though, right, with these girls, if he does monthly, if it's a way to hold it over their heads.
Hmm.
Because let's just say this dude from wherever, this old dude buys some chick from him, right? And he pays whatever the lump sum is to get her. His deal with the girl and the family is, I'm gonna give your family X amount of money per month. So they bank on that, right? What's to say she kills herself? What's to say she runs away? Now, the old dude who paid all that money, he's probably coming back like, oh, I need another one. And then this dude's going to cut out the family because the girl ran away. So why should he give the family any money? So I wonder if he holds it over the head. See what I'm saying? Like
Hmm.
if you
But
run,
but then again, is this long term? Because he's not going to be living there. If he's a millionaire and he's traveling back and forth, he's not. Why would he keep sending money every month if he's not going to be dealing with her every day?
Well, no,
Now
because
she's
that
getting
after that,
older.
the
She's getting
girls.
older and so on and so forth. So he just pick another one.
Mhm. Well, what happens is I've seen a couple of updates there, and I've seen one girl who was 18 now. She was completely liberated, and she was a party girl now.
nice,
Hmm.
very
Yeah,
nice.
probably looked like she looked like she maybe been taking drugs now. You
What?
know, and she was very open and comfortable with it. Then I seen another one with a 20-year-old girl who was helping get other girls.
Hmm.
She was older now, been with him for a while. Now she's helping get other girls.
So it's just
And
a cycle.
it's a cycle. Yeah. One turned into a party girl. One 20-year-old seemed like she kept herself together. Doesn't look like a baby anymore. Probably has a guy for years, has been taking care of her. Very more adjusted, and is now telling her lifestyle to other girls.
But
And
this
I'm
this is
sure.
this is the crutch. Once you go on that lifestyle and you start working the bars and you start making cash every day, how can somebody come to you and say, okay, you need to stop this and start working a regular job?
It's hard
It's not
because
going
you're
to
getting that
happen.
quick money.
Yes.
Yeah. Someone would have to really take care of them. Like, and then that makes you start to look at men. That's the only sad thing. It makes them start to look at men as money, and then that makes those women, turn into women almost everywhere else because now they're just looking at you as a dollar sign, which
Well,
can happen. A lot of times, women do look at, men that are foreigners as dollar signs, but it works out for both parties because it's cheaper to keep her and it's better for her to keep you.
No, not if
But
you spend $800 a month and you never seen her or never met her before and
well,
can't
yeah,
come
but
over to the Philippines and meet her.
yeah, that's
Sorry
that's
about
that's
that.
different. No, that's all right. That's different. Um, and also, if she was a bar girl, or not even a bar girl, she's just she knows how to work her way through with guys. She's gonna be too expensive for any guy almost, unless he's rich. So it's crazy.
yeah, I mean, well, once those girls choose that lifestyle to work in a bar, I think everybody they see is money. Like
Hmm.
that's the only way they see somebody. It'd be very hard for them to change
Yeah.
because, like Homer said, what is that girl really gonna? After that, is that really your girl gonna go find some normal job after doing that? She's making a hell of a lot more money living that kind of lifestyle, and so you really can't change somebody like that.
No.
Something, what would have to happen? Something bad would have to happen to them.
Hmm.
Something really bad would have to happen to them to wake up and go, you know what, I can't do this anymore.
But that's sad. You have to get raped one day, because you don't want to. Maybe you get with some guy that's a sick pervert and you don't want to do it. Then he rapes you, and does it anyway. And then does that have to happen for you to give that life up? You get what I'm saying?
I,
Right.
yeah,
Sad, sad, man.
I think the money is probably just so powerful, because like you think about how much money they can make in a day compared to what they probably would make in a month working hard
Hmm.
on a
Hmm.
job.
Exactly.
Yeah. So when you think about it, they can do a lot more. And you think about it too, they're probably giving kick, even though maybe their family disowned them or some weird shit like that for what they're doing, they
Hmm.
probably still maybe give money back to their family and their family maybe they're all right with it
Yeah.
because they're able to do so much more with their money that it's helping more than just them. So like I said, maybe that's like the the means to an end where kind of deal where it's like, yeah, this may be bad, it may look bad, but it's something I have to do because it helps not more than just me.
Yeah. Hey, Rookie, I would love to get their story. I would definitely blur out their face. If you know girls that are in that, I just would like to hear what they have to say about it. Even bring them on a podcast. They don't have to show their face. Their information won't be exposed. We don't believe in doing that, but yeah, if you can have tell them, let them know, hey, look, Black Filipino would like to speak with you, so you can tell your story, and you won't be judged at all. I'll definitely bring Homer back on for that special.
They're not alone, and see, a lot of them will probably feel
Yeah,
like they're alone. They're not the only one.
they're not the only one.
It's going on everywhere. It's not just in the Philippines. It's also here in the United States. It's
Hmm.
everywhere.
It's
So
that
those
was the
girls
first
need to
profession.
know that they're not alone in this.
Yeah, I think that was the first profession or something like that, right? I can
That's
hear
the
people say
longest
it all the time.
profession.
Longest profession in the world. You know, us guys talking about a podcast and what we don't like can't stop it. um, we're not targeting people. We're not trying to do that. We're just telling it like it is, and this is what it is.
Yeah, I see. I don't technically have a problem with the idea of buying and selling. If somebody wants to sell it and somebody wants to buy it, it's all good. I
Hmm.
have a problem with the age.
Yeah,
What I
yeah,
have a what I have a problem with is the human trafficking side of it.
yeah.
That's what like, people against their will, or people put in a situation where they kind of feel compelled to do this. You know what I
Right,
mean?
right,
At a
right.
young age, where they really can't think for themselves. That's
Hmm.
the problem. But if
Yeah.
if somebody have a real adult, stable mind, they want to engage in that lifestyle, even though it's against the law in some countries. That's on them. You know,
Hmm.
it's when it involves kids. It's just kind of like sit there and you shake your head because it's just you wonder. Like Homer said, he has an 11-year-old daughter. And you think about it, and you say, all right. Like so, in a year, if she was living in the Philippines, it could be a totally different lifestyle for her.
Yeah.
Like it could be totally different than what's socially accessible legally
Hmm.
allowed here. So it's just different, you
Well,
know.
Homer ain't gonna let that happen. Look, after school, you come home. All right, I got a track on your cell phone, and you better not turn it off. And here's two battery backups for you.
But it's the reality is the
Yeah,
parent. Like I says, I'm
yeah,
a different parent, and
exactly.
our situations are totally different. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I can't say if I was in that situation. What like you said, you do different things when you're in bad situations.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yep.
Hey,
You
but I
do.
know, I know you're still gonna get it that tracker cell phone though.
It's true.
Yeah, she's cute too. So my daughter, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You're gonna
Gotta
do
protect
things. You're gonna do things out of need. You know what I mean? So like,
them. Hmm.
you got a family of five. You might have to sacrifice the oldest daughter because she's the best earner. And if you think about it like that logically, like, okay, you live in a situation where nobody has a job. You have five. There's five of you.
Hmm.
Here's an out. Here's an out. Some dude's willing to give us money, but she has to do things that we frown upon. But the big picture is everybody eats.
Hmm. Hmm.
Everybody lives. And I would have to assume in a situation they can justify that for themselves, you know, and to
Hmm.
them it's okay, you know.
But it's a presentation. It's what's brought to them. Like with my wife,
Yeah, yeah,
her family says, okay, they look at the kids and they say, okay, which kid do we feel has a better chance to get a good education and do more that can help the family? Did they look at prostitution? No, they looked at education. So they focused on my wife. She has older siblings. They focused on her because of her drive and her mentality. So they sent and everybody chipped in for her to go to school.
Hmm.
So she got a job, so she can in turn give money back to the family. It's a cycle that deals with the evolution of the family sticking by each other.
Yeah.
and the other side of that though is too is that the what's being offered in the Philippines we're talking about is that's easy money, quick money.
Hmm.
The education
Right,
is
right,
long.
right.
It's a much longer process.
Long term.
Yeah, it's a process you got to buy into, and
Hmm.
I think some people look at, the quick, they rather have that quick solution. And like you said, like, you see how this guy presents them, you know what I mean? Like the way he packages it up makes you believe that everything is all good.
Yeah, and you know what? He is helping them. There's always another side to a bad story.
That's what we're saying.
Yeah, yeah,
I think we talked about both sides pretty well. You know.
yeah, yeah. And I see it, and he's not trashing them. From what we see, that's what we see. So I'm not gonna lie and say, oh, it's all the way bad. Yeah, it pretty much is. But I seen the good part of it too. It's just the good part doesn't outweigh the bad. That's what it is.
But
Yeah,
plain and
And
simple, it's just the reality of what's going on
yeah, yeah.
everywhere. It's the reality of what's going on that you see in the Philippines. It's the law. You can't change it. Like
Yep,
anything, it's a long process if you try to change it. You
yep.
know, um, oh
and
man.
and there's a demand for it. Like if you just listen, if you watch a lot of vlogs, you always come across that vlogger or a couple of vloggers who their content is centered around that seediness. It's centered
Hmm.
around the bar girls. It's centered around um, that underbelly, that red light district type of lifestyle, right? It's
Hmm.
centered around that. And when you go to their channel, you see the type of people that comment in the videos, right? You see their comments and you see how twisted a lot of people really are because you see
Hmm.
what they ask of these people. Oh, you should have had her do this. Oh, you should have had her do that, and you
Hmm.
go, yeah, it's funny if somebody says it once and they're joking around and if they follow it up with a little LOL or a JK for just kidding. But when
Hmm.
you could tell sometimes that people are a little twisted. They're a little off.
They are.
And and when you see that like there's so many people that are on YouTube that are into this kind of stuff, you sit there and go, yeah, I know why people are making money doing this because let's just be honest, there's a lot of sick bastards in this world.
Yeah, and a lot of times too, those guys that do those videos, they do it because they know it's going to attract attention. At the end of the day, YouTube people do make money on YouTube. And would I do that? No, but we're not saying that to judge them. We're just saying it's seedy.
And
And
there's a demand, there's a demand for it.
it's a demand for it.
There is a
Yeah,
demand for it.
it's like the
There's no
same
way.
thing. There's a man for that with the younger girls. There's a man for guys that want to see the ball girls, and it's going to be exploited. There's going to be a demand. There's going to be a supply.
Yeah, and like you said, you don't show it. There's other vloggers that won't do it either. They won't go down that road. But there's many vloggers who will. And there's a lot of vloggers, and I'm not going to say names, but there are people that had really good, honest channels. Like they were them. You know what I mean? Like they spotlighted their life. But then when money wasn't coming in on YouTube, they went for the easy views. You know what I'm saying? Like they made sure they started spotlighting bar girls. They started going into the seedier neighborhoods, living more of the nightlife than they were before because the money was hurting, and they said, oh, click, I can draw more people in if I start showing some more seedy shit.
Hmm. Yeah, but there
There,
are other ways to get views, which
yeah.
we will not talk about right now. But there are other ways that you can do it and not have to you know risk your soul at the end of the day.
Well,
There's
my
always another way.
my whole thing is that I think it depends on how you want to. If you're an expat, and I'm like I said, I'm not there, right? But like I view it as if I went to another country, I'm a guest, right? That's how I view the situation. I'm a guest, and I have to be respectful. I don't. I just feel weird that you go to another country and you spotlight all the negativity without a solution. You're just there basically taking advantage of people so you can make money.
Hmm. Hmm.
To me, you're raping the culture. You're raping the people mentally. You're raping them mentally. You're taking advantage of them. They might not know it. They might not put two and two together, but you are. You know what I mean? Like
Hmm.
I see it, and I'm not passing judgment on people. It's just that I just find it odd that you people would go to a country that's not theirs and you're a guest and you would do things like that.
Hmm.
It's just to me, I think you're playing with fire. I think you're just playing with fire. I think especially when you're in a situation where you kind of know somebody who's in power now is willing to end people's lives to clean situations up. I don't know. I don't know if I really want to push push him. I don't think I really
Yeah,
want
yeah.
to spotlight a lot of negativities that are going on in his country to one day where he might be like, you know what? I don't like this. I don't like what these people are saying about us on YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
Get them out
Yeah.
of here. You're a guest. They can take care of it really quickly.
Yeah. Well, yeah, because these guys know, they know what's going on. They know, you know, who's spotlighting the negativity in a negative way.
Well,
And
I know,
I'm
I
not
know,
saying that that's gonna happen, but I know what your boy Chris means.
I
You
know in
know.
the Philippines, because there's been numerous not Philippines, Thailand. There's numerous Thailand vloggers over the course of the last year or two have all said that they know that the government tracks their YouTube pages. Once you get a little popular, they track you.
Mm-hmm.
They track to see your content and for different reasons. To see if you're doing stuff that's illegal, and number two, if say they want to get a message out, like there's one guy, I can't remember his name, but there's one guy in Thailand. The government actually came to him when they started changing the immigration laws around or enforcing them because they felt he had a big enough following because they knew a lot of people came to him about coming to visit Thailand. So they were like, "Oh, this is a great guy to go talk to because he can make a video about things that we want to get across." And I thought that was genius. But at the same token, you're like, "Oh shit, they're watching."
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? Because even the guy said in his video, I got requested to come down to the police station. I was like, what? What did I do? And they got there and they're like, oh, we've been looking at your YouTube channel. He said he started freaking out, like, uh-oh, this ain't good. But then
Yeah.
they told him he was sitting in his room and there was like people from the military there, and he was like, because it's a military government, and they told him, they said, listen, we're changing some policies around with the visas, and we noticed that you have a huge following, and we noticed that you're on a lot of the expat forums. We need you to help us get the message out about some of the changes. And he was like, oh, okay, thank God.
Yeah, but he probably wasn't doing anything anyway. But from what I see, I don't think anybody's doing anything as far as the expats out here that's gonna get him in trouble. But I understand what your boy Chris is saying though. Excuse
Yes,
me.
rookie. To tell you, man, the sex tourism thing is unbelievable. Like, you know, it's real. You know what I mean?
Mhm.
Like,
Oh,
like if
oh,
you want.
oh, sorry. Go ahead.
If you watch a lot of vlogs, man, it's just so easy to see that's what the majority of male people looking to go to these quote unquote third world countries are looking to do. They're looking to take advantage of the situation. I just find it odd because I mean
Hmm.
I have a story to tell, but I won't tell it because it involves a lot of very highly illegal activity in certain countries. But uh, somebody I know, you know the person in a roundabout way, um, but
Oh,
no,
me?
they yeah in a roundabout way.
Okay.
You
Okay.
know
Okay.
a family member of theirs, but uh, they did some highly illegal things in a very dangerous country, in a country where you will disappear. Yet they went there and did things that, like I said, you'll disappear. Like nobody will ever hear from you again. And I get the same notion that that could happen in the Philippines too if they really wanted to make it happen. And I just don't understand why people would put themselves in that risk.
Hmm.
Because, it's
Well,
pointless. It's stupid.
hmm well, it does happen. You hear the stories all the time. Every now and then, forgot somebody was saying it. Guys are going to Mindanao, and then it ends up they're saying they
Commit
committed a
suicide.
suicide. So it happens everywhere. It does happen everywhere, and also
Yeah.
everyone. Oh yeah, your boy Chris. Someone to tell you. Board Rookie is an actual black Filipino.
Get out of here. There's a real one?
Yeah, she's an actual black Filipino, and she has a channel. Definitely has some popularity. I actually see a lot of her videos, and like when you go looking at your own videos or you put in, certain keywords, I see her videos right next to mine. So yeah, and I know a couple of people may know her in the that may be listening to the podcast right now. But yeah, we gotta definitely have to have her on um, one of our next podcasts, or maybe she can join really quickly. I'll give you my this is my email, and you can send me your email in there, and I can invite you in right now if you want to join us. For we wrap it up. Let me see here and hear your thoughts, because what she just said is real. You see that, right?
Yeah, I'm looking.
She said, "Thank God you guys see it the way I do, because honestly, until today, I thought all foreigners who come to the Philippines was all because of sex tourism."
Now, I listen, Ruki, I've never been there. It's just that I just had this weird feeling that like you're again. See, listen, as a New Yorker, as a New Yorker, and it's being such a melting pot, you could tell the difference between somebody who's an immigrant who's been here their whole life pretty much versus somebody that just came here yesterday. They handle themselves differently. It's just different vibes about them. And I always get this notion that like it's not your country or not your place, you're a guest, and you should act accordingly. And I just think that people get these wrong ideas about certain countries that they think they can just go there and take advantage of situations. You know what I
Mhm,
mean? And it's on different levels too. It doesn't have to be just sex tourism. It can be business practices.
mhm.
People go, "Oh, I'll go to the Philippines and I'll take advantage of the labor."
Yeah.
They take advantage of people in a different way. You know,
Mhm,
and I just think I don't know. It's something that irks me.
mhm.
It's one of those things. Like I don't know. I think that you put bad vibes into the world, they're gonna come back to you.
You know what's funny? I just wanted to share something. I remember when I was still in the U.S. and I had a couple of Filipinos working for me, right? And that's why a lot of Filipinos love working online, because they get treated correctly. I had one girl; she was working part time, and she was working for me for what, 15 hours, and she was making more than what she would have got working full time here.
It's crazy.
So when I had to let her go,
You cried.
she was like, "Oh no," she was like, "Oh, thank you so much. If you need me again, let me know. Whatever you need to do." And I definitely want to hire her back, because you know um she was so driven, in the way because she really couldn't speak that good English at all, but she listened to me, and she got on that phone, and it would be funny listening to her call sometimes, but people couldn't tell her no. She listened to everything I said, and then she just dominated. She would get me like 10 appointments a week, and I would give her
But
commission
I
for those
bet you she was
appointments.
very dependable and worked hard.
She worked, man, she worked her back, butt, legs, and everything off. And she had a lot of drive. I had to train her for a month, but then I asked her, I
And
said,
then
"Have you ever been trained the way I train you, how to sell?" She said, "No, no one has ever trained me the way you do." And she
so
said,
then
"Thank you, because it worked."
Jay builds her up and then crushes her dreams. Just lets her go. It's
Oh, no,
typical
no, no.
bullshit.
You stupid.
Homer,
No,
it's the
I had no
opposite.
choice, man.
Jay builds her up and then he moves out of the country. Typical
Hey
bullshit.
Jay, but Jay, you didn't come back quick enough. You gave her some experience or something she can take with her anywhere. That's
Yeah, yeah,
priceless.
yeah. Yeah, I know. I
Some
know.
other fool got her and it's like, oh, you're trained
Yeah,
well.
Ruby, erase that email too. Erase that. I don't know if you can erase that.
No, you can't erase comment. I know. Yeah, can you edit your own comments in here now? I think you can, right?
I don't know.
I can edit her comment.
Yeah, go in there and edit that. Um, Let me see here. All right, yeah, it's gone. All right, so let me add her in right now. Let me see here. Where's this here?
Hey, isn't
Yeah,
there
Jay, just
some?
like you touch base about some of females coming on live with us and stuff like that.
Hmm.
We touch base on Ariel Castro. One of the victims now is actually working for one of our TV channels now for missing people.
Oh, really?
So she will go on television and actually mention their names, mention when they were seen last and stuff like that. So she was a victim that's turned into an advocate
Oh,
now. So that's priceless. People can relate to her now. You know what I mean?
yeah.
No, that's
Hey, if you could set that up with her, let me know, man. because I would love to have her on and see what she's doing. I'm definitely gonna look her up. What's her name again?
Amber, what's that other girl that's on Fox 8 now? That the one that was with Ariel Castro. She's on the what's her name? Yeah, I'll let you know because I can't.
Okay, okay.
I'm picturing her face right now, but I can't remember her name offhand.
You know,
Hmm,
the
hmm.
the Homer, the most memorable part about that whole situation with the three of those girls when they escaped that day was the older black gentleman that was on the news that she jumped into the arms in when she got out, and he's like, "This white
Yeah,
girl
man.
jumped into my arms," and then he's like, "I knew
Yeah.
something was wrong when she did that." I was like,
He said, "White girl jumping in my arms."
Mm.
yeah, he said you can find it. You go on YouTube and find it. They were interviewing
Oh,
him,
there's
right?
plenty of those on there.
She apparently when she got
Oh,
out
goodness.
she got out the back of the house, she ran across the street and she was banging on somebody else's door. But then like there was some guy, an older gentleman, walking down the street, and she like was like help us, and she jumped in his arm or whatever, and he's on the news like I knew something was wrong when that white girl jumped in the black man's arms. So I was like that's funny as shit.
Yeah, man. Yeah, I'm just waiting for Ruki to come in. I just sent her an invite. So yeah, man. Yeah, I don't know if you'll be able to reach her, but if you can, that'd be great, man. I love to have her on. And I love people to hear her story and be able to support what she's doing.
Sad, but probably a lot of people that watch a lot of expat vloggers would probably probably listen to her going, I wonder how I can keep somebody for 10 years.
Oh wow. Damn.
That's the truth.
Yeah, maybe. Wow.
There's a lot of weird situations going on.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's so crazy. Hold on, let me see here.
I used to like watching some of these vlogs though, and like people in the comments would give people shit like, how old is she? Like whoever it was.
Hmm,
And then they would like have the girl talk on the video, and
hmm,
then it'd be like their girlfriend or maybe their wife or whatever.
hmm.
And then like it would just be funny as shit because for like video after video, people like, you need to let her talk on the video freely
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because they felt like the girl was being controlled.
Yeah, because most of the time that's the situation.
Well, that's why a lot of people would argue with people. I mean, it is what it is. I mean, I don't know. It's weird. Like you watch some people's vlogs and their husband, wife, or their guy, girl flow between them is like very natural. And then you
Hmm,
watch some vloggers with their partner, and it's not natural.
yeah.
It's like kind of like you know, it's kind of like somebody's way up here and the other person's way below them, and it's kind of like so controlled. And
Hmm,
those are the ones I kind of feel awkward when I watch. I feel awkward.
Yeah, me too.
I don't know if I should be supporting this person by watching with a view.
But sometimes what happens is, these girls too, it's a disconnect. They can barely speak English. And you can clearly see that when you watch the video. And also like you said, you can see that they're being controlled. You know, you can
Yeah,
clearly see.
like if I watch a vlogger and his wife or girlfriend is making fun of them and stuff like that, I'm like, okay, good. It's an equal flow here. Like she's busting his chops. You know what I mean? Like they're on an equal plane. They're equal. Like
Hmm,
you could tell there's a vibe that everything is equal.
hmm.
And there's some you watch and you're just like, nah, this ain't legit. This is kind of like somebody, you know, basically handpicked them. So there you go.
Yeah, but yeah, guys, definitely. This was a good podcast. Me about to wrap it up. I don't know how long it's been going on for. I think we've been going for about an hour.
Long time.
Yeah, and I think Homer got tired on us because he's still in the States right now. Well, so are you too, but your boy Chris is used to staying up extra late.
No, I want to go to bed.
Yeah, there you so
This is late.
yeah, guys, we're gonna get up with you next time. And also if you have some ideas on some things you would like to know or some topics you would like to discuss, you know how to contact me, the blackfilipino at gmail.com. or your boy Chris made it at gmail.com. We'll definitely have Homer on again and again and again a bunch of other times. You know, I'm sure you guys enjoyed them, and thank you for watching. Anything you want to say, your boy Chris?
Actually, no, but good night to everyone. Oh,
Good
good
night,
day to you
everybody.
people if you're over there.
Yeah. All right. So see you guys later.
Peace.
Peace.